Ladies and gents, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Look, we're looking at the roundabout, something in modern traffic patterns, right? I think they've been around a while, actually. And, you know, driving is something that a lot of us do around the world, but we do it in different ways, different vehicles, different sides of the road, and of course, across different distances. Some countries are small and some are really big. What's funny is every country seems to have their own take on how cities work, how roads work, you know, how they're aligned, all these different things. Now, I have heard, at least generically, I can't really say where I've heard and if it's accurate or not, but I feel like I've heard roundabouts are pretty common throughout maybe Europe, maybe Australia, maybe Asia. I'm not really sure, but I feel like they're more common around the world. And they're supposedly known as not common in the U.S. And I can attest to my experience, for the most part, they're not common. But some places do. Here in Las Cruces, New Mexico, there are a couple intersections, especially around downtown area, that are roundabouts, and they're pretty cool. But then, you know, a lot of places around the city aren't. The one that affected me the most is right north of where I'm from in Illinois, the neighboring state of Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin has a lot of roundabouts, and I mean a lot. Maybe a lot for American standards, that is. They come up a lot in tons of towns. You know, you get off the highway, you enter a town, and there's roundabouts everywhere. That has happened to me a lot in Wisconsin, and I think they're really cool. I think they're safer. I like them. I do admit that some Americans don't seem to know how they work. So they're safer if everyone does their job. But, of course, I've seen some people act really weird at roundabouts, so they can be dangerous if you get someone, well, a bad driver in the mix. Enough rambling from me. Let's get into the video. This is why the U.S. hates roundabouts. And this is from a channel called Cheddar. Make sure to check it out in the description below so you can watch the whole thing uninterrupted. Here we go. Let's do it.
Carmel, Indiana is home to an unusual record. The city of 97,000 people north of Indianapolis boasts over 125 modern roundabouts.
That's
more
awesome.
than any other U.S. city. And they're proud of it. This number accounts for 3% of the country's 4,000 total roundabouts. But compared to other countries,
that's crazy.
The U.S. is not holding any records. France has the most roundabouts with over 30,000 constructed across the country.
Wow.
It is followed closely by the United Kingdom with 25,000 roundabouts. So how did one small Midwestern city become the roundabout capital of the U.S.?
Yeah.
The reason can be credited to Mayor Jim Brainerd. During his graduate school trip to England, he observed the ease and safety of the country's numerous roundabouts.
That's what I mean. For the most part, they are safer, and they're so much faster. Going at a grid intersection where there's red lights and everyone has to wait and they're still dangerous, they're more dangerous, they're more slow. Roundabouts should be more common. They're awesome.
Drivers were yielding to traffic and to bikes and to pedestrians. No unsightly traffic signals and no long lines or congestion. It made me wonder why the U.S. had not built more roundabouts. When Brainerd was elected mayor of Carmel in 1996, he made it his mission to cover the city with roundabouts. But an ease in traffic congestion was not the only reason behind his campaign. In fact, the roundabout is the intersection of choice for many modernized countries because of its proven safety. Carmel, Indiana alone has seen a reduction in the number of injuries from car accidents by about 80% since the 1990s.
God. Okay, so this actually had real numbers. I like to see when something is different. Is it really worth it? This seems like it's worth it. 80% reduction in accidents? How can you argue with that? That's awesome.
So if roundabouts are increasing safety for drivers, why is America lagging behind?
Yeah.
I hate them. They're the worst things ever.
What?
Because Americans like me hate it and don't think they're necessary.
I mean, I'm not being different for the sake of being different. I swear to God, I like roundabouts. I'm very American, and I like roundabouts. Why don't these people like them?
I think that it's taking a long time, and I'm scared I'm going to miss the exit I need, and so I end up going maybe 2 or 3 times more than I need to.
Oh. Is it something goofy like people like to text or eat at the stoplight? Oh, I need my stoplight so I can eat and all this stuff. Is it because you actually have to pay attention? I know paying attention, at least in modern day America, can be a chore while driving. I mean, yikes.
Over 300,000 existing signalized intersections in the United States. According to the Federal Highway Administration, more than 50% of the combined total of fatal and injury crashes occur at or near these intersections.
Yeah, that's believable.
On average, over 10,000 people are killed each year in collisions at them.
Oh my
Yet,
goodness.
studies show that modern roundabouts reduce accidents by 38% and fatal crashes up to 90%. So why does the
Wow.
collision rate drastically drop? Well, the answer lies in the construction. A roundabout is a small one-way circular intersection built around a raised center island. Drivers must yield to circulating traffic as they enter and exit at their desired street. Because drivers are forced to slow down upon entry, the collision rate drops. They are no longer racing to beat the red light.
Right.
Even if an accident occurs, injuries are less likely due to the lower speeds.
Right.
Take note though, this is the definition specifically for what is called the modern roundabout.
Okay. Is there another
This
type?
is because the modern roundabout is often confused with the similar intersections known as traffic circles or rotaries. Unlike
What?
modern roundabouts, traffic circles are much larger in shape. Drivers enter traffic circles in a straight line at faster speeds, and they're not required to yield to oncoming traffic. In modern roundabouts, drivers navigate a gentle curve at a slower pace. Traffic circles often use stoplights or stop signs
Really?
within the circular intersection.
That's
This is
weird.
Columbus Circle in New York City.
What? We have them in the U.S.? Now, granted, keep in mind I've never been to New York City, so I wouldn't know that. You know what? Before they mention it, I do wonder if this would count. I think there's one like that in Indianapolis, very close to Carmel, Indiana, that they mentioned at the beginning. I think that has a big circle, if I remember, downtown, and maybe that would count as one of these. And I admit that, the traffic circle, not the roundabout, the traffic circle, I do not like. They're weird.
Built in 1905, it's considered to be the world's first traffic circle. Following its construction, large traffic circles began spreading around the United States. But because their layout enabled high-speed merging and weaving, they caused more vehicle collisions and they quickly fell out of favor.
Yeah.
Big issue with these circles was safety. The fact that cars had to suddenly be stopped in the middle of it while everyone's coming in at speed.
Yeah.
And that's
that
scary.
sounds like chaos.
That's Gordon Meth, a civil engineer.
And not all our cars perform as fast as others. Then they would get congested. Those were the reasons why circles fell out of fashion. And a lot of government agencies went around trying to get rid of circles.
By the 1950s,
I'm sorry, but this is this is kind of an American trait over the decades. Let me guess. They're going to say that because traffic circles failed pretty hard, even though they're really not at all a roundabout, they're not like it in the slightest, in my opinion, other than the fact that they're both circles. Let me guess. Traffic circles failed, so therefore roundabouts, we don't want those either because we can't get traffic circle out of our head. That's what I'm going to guess is why the U.S. doesn't do them. They're scarred from the one, so let's not try another. It's definitely flawed. I think that sucks.
development slowed to a halt worldwide. Fast forward to 1966. A city engineer named Frank Blackmore of the United Kingdom wanted to rectify the problems caused by traffic circles. So, he developed what is now known as the modern roundabout. Blackmore established the give way rule for his modern roundabouts, which required entering drivers to yield to circulating traffic. This created a much safer intersection than the original traffic circles. The idea quickly gained favor, and the modern roundabout began spreading throughout parts of Europe. The changes Blackmore made were successful, and over time, accident rates dropped drastically. But the trend was not catching on in the United States. Engineers weren't convinced that the improvements Blackmore enacted were safer for drivers, and Americans still had a largely unpopular opinion about them. So, American engineer Leif Arston set out to change that. In 1984, Arston reached out to Blackmore for help. In 1941, Sir Winston Churchill asked America to join Britain in a struggle to protect democracy. We join you, and together we triumphed. Now, 45 years later, I am calling upon you to help me with the difficult struggle in which we are both engaged. We are trying to bring the British-style roundabout to the Western Hemisphere. The fighting is tough, the slogging is slow, and the resistance is stiff. In the spirit of Anglo-American cooperation, will you join us and lend a hand? Blackmore quickly agreed to a meeting with Orston and traveled to the United States. Together, the two set out around the state of California, persuading traffic heads to begin building modern roundabouts. However, the public was not convinced.
Why?
Surveys showed only 20% of drivers approved of their construction.
Okay,
Even
that's
if
so
project
weird.
proposals for roundabouts were approved, the two men were often met with protest, and the plans were quickly shut down. Finally,
Okay, can I just say how odd it is? My fellow Americans that were on the side of totally not liking roundabouts, isn't it just a little odd that most people not only didn't like roundabouts, but they were protest against them? Damn, that's so wild to me. Why? I just don't
in
get why.
1990, Orston
If they're safer and they're slow entry, they're safer, and they end up actually being quicker in the long run because you're not sitting at an intersection for 3 minutes. It's not to like. I just don't understand it. People really not want to put effort into getting to their destination safe. Driving a car is fun. It's a part of everyday life, at least in America. I mean, we really depend on cars here. But man, like, it's your life, right? You want to be safe. You want to take care of your car. You want to take care of your loved ones in your car. Is it really that much to ask to be attentive to driving and have something like a roundabout help everyone's day? But you have to be a little more attentive to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't get the strong resistance. I just don't understand.
and Blackmore's hard work paid off, and the first two modern roundabouts were successfully constructed in a Las Vegas subdivision.
Cool.
The feat caught the attention of city planners. Other communities followed in their footsteps, and roundabouts slowly began popping up around the U.S. Although construction started later in the U.S., the timeline of events is not an exclusive explanation for the lack of roundabouts. In fact, there are a few theories that could account for the answer. First, the American detestation for roundabouts could derive from what is called the availability heuristic. This term describes the way people form an opinion on something based on the immediate thoughts or memories that are associated with it.
Oh, gee.
The scene of Clark Griswold getting trapped while driving in a traffic circle and European Vacation may come to mind.
Oh, my God. Please. Do not say that. That would be funny, right? Like, oh, our country is not going to get roundabouts because we saw in a movie them have trouble with it and get stuck in a roundabout. So, therefore, I don't want that in real life. Oh, geez.
It's amazing. I cannot get left. There's Big Ben, kids. Parliament.
Or perhaps the time Homer Simpson drives hopelessly around the Lambeth Bridge roundabout before swerving out in a desperate attempt to escape the never-ending nightmare.
Oh, come on. That's so funny.
Keep turning.
I see an opening.
Only to crash into the Queen of England herself.
That's it. I'm acting the way America acts best. Unilaterally.
When thinking about modern roundabouts, many Americans tend to envision traffic circles. This is an easy misconception because the two appear similar at first glance. Ever since the fallout of the original traffic circle that enabled high collision rates in the early 1900s, Americans were left with a bad taste in their mouths.
My point
so,
exactly.
the
I
assumption
called
that
it.
modern roundabouts
I
will
knew
be
that's what
just
it was.
as dangerous is formed.
Oh,
Plus,
my God.
American drivers
That
might
sucks.
simply just be used to traffic lights.
We're just used to intersections and traffic signals historically. I've found that the public sometimes don't like four-way stops where everyone has to stop and yield.
Okay. Are we used to traffic signals and intersections? Yes. I'm used to it. I'm also sick of them. I'm tired of them. Sometimes it's so annoying waiting at red lights, and it's also scary crossing through because it's like, I hope no one's running the red light coming this way right at me. You know, I'm over them. I would like to see more roundabouts. That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. It will be interesting to see in the next few decades if they pop up more and more. I'm glad there is at least some. There's at least some. But yeah, there's not many at all compared to some other countries. It's very
They just don't like them
interesting.
because they just get, if there's a lot of traffic, they get kind of confused. I think you get the same effect in a roundabout. You know, the uncertainty level gets to people. There's something comforting, I think, to the red, yellow, green that tells you it's time to go or not go.
They are comfortable with a binary system that controls their actions and makes decisions for them. Red light stop, green light go. Simple enough, right? In a sense, drivers care more about the illusion of safety created by stoplights. But when they are forced to rely on their own driving abilities, along with the actions of others, it causes a confusing and distressing experience. Another theory could be that Americans just don't know how to use a roundabout.
There are certain parts of the country where they're starting to gain favor.
Good.
But the reality is that people aren't used to it. You come up to this intersection, this circle, and it tells you to yield, but you're not totally sure how to use it, and you're not used to the concept of going around in a circle to find your exit. So it's a matter of just people getting comfortable with it and used to it. And that comes with critical mass. The more of them there are, the better.
Yeah, as long as they keep building more of them on somewhat of a scale, people will get used to it. Though I don't agree with the whole getting up to a roundabout, not knowing how to use it or being scared of it. Look, I'm just one person. Everyone's different, right? I don't quite understand it. I don't think they're scary at all. But yeah, I think people will learn eventually, right? So I do hope they build more, and people just, driving, like I said, driving is something that's important. And the biggest thing with driving is it can be fun and it's very convenient, but it has to be safe. It has to be safe because it can be very unsafe. So people, at the end of the day, people kind of need to learn on the fly, always evolve and become better drivers, right? I think most of us are better drivers at 30 than we are at 16. And I think most of us maybe are better drivers at 45 than we were at 30. So you're always evolving. So people, eventually got to kind of get over it and learn how to safely use roundabouts so everyone's safe. And at the end, it would end up being better, I think, right?
So I think that's what the main reluctance is.
Many states don't even require teenagers to navigate one during the road skills driver's exam to obtain their licenses.
Yeah, I didn't
Even
have
in the
to.
turn section on the Virginia State Driver's Evaluation, the roundabout portion reads only, if available. American drivers end up learning how to drive through a roundabout during their first real-world encounter with them.
That's true.
This can cause a stressful experience due to the lack of familiarity. Therefore, the disdain for the experience is established. Lastly, it comes down to awareness. Many Americans don't know how beneficial roundabouts are.
They are very beneficial.
Not only do roundabouts reduce vehicle collisions by 38%, they are also cheaper to construct, reduce congestion, and are better for the environment.
Yeah.
Roundabouts save about $5,000 to $10,000 per year due to the reduced maintenance and electrical cost. They also improve traffic flow. Cars do not have to stop and wait for the light to change.
Right.
One study of 3 locations in New Hampshire, New York, and Washington found an 89% average reduction in vehicle delays.
That's awesome.
And a 56% average reduction in vehicle stops in areas where roundabouts replace intersections.
Right.
Another study in Kansas,
And yeah, it would end up being safer. I think that would reduce emissions as well.
across 11 intersections, found similar results, with a 65% reduction in delays and a 52% decrease in traffic stops.
Yeah.
Because of the reduction in traffic delays and stops, roundabouts have a relatively non-existent carbon footprint. One study in Sweden found an average reduction in carbon emissions by 29% and a reduction in fuel consumption by 28%.
There you go.
Fortunately, it is proven that more and more Americans are coming around to accepting and using roundabouts.
Y'all seen the prices of gas lately? Give us more roundabouts. We need every cent of savings we can get at the pump. Am I right?
Studies show that once drivers learn how to use them, their attitude towards roundabouts drastically changes.
Yeah.
Community surveys where roundabouts were built shows that only 30% of people approved of them before construction, but approval increased to about 50 to 70% after they were built.
There you go.
So, while modern roundabouts may not be widely popular in the U.S., Americans are slowly coming back around to the idea of them.
That was interesting. I cannot wait to see the comments on this video. Tell me where you're from and how common are roundabouts. Do you like roundabouts? Do you think they're safer, or do you hate them? Do you think they're a mess? I really like them. I hope to see more. And when I see them, I guess it's because I do know how to use them. I guess I've always been someone who's interested in things that are different, and they are considered different here. So I think when I started seeing them when I was younger, going up to Wisconsin a lot, I just got used to them, and I liked them. And then the more I did them, you know, the more I liked them, and I feel safe at them because I know how to use them and stuff. So yeah, they're very interesting, and it's cool to see how they're slowly making their way into the U.S. And it would be interesting to see from my perspective other countries, because apparently some countries really have a lot of them, and that's cool. That's really neat. So yeah, tell me your experiences down below. Check that original video in its entirety uninterrupted in the description down below, as well as other ways you can interact with me. Please leave a thumbs up and a like on this video if you enjoyed it. I do appreciate it. It will help the video out a lot. And yeah, subscribe, because we have an amazing community here and it's growing. You will have a fun time. If you're not subscribed, do it. You will not regret it. My name is Ian. You watch an IWrocker. And until next time, guys, stay safe out there, and I'll catch you later.